Yeah,
They
what was
wanted
your experience like as an employee? How does Jank treat his employees? Give us the tea. This is the Vanguard.
well, look, I'm a
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Emma Vigeland giving the raw, uncut truth about herself, about Cenk Uygur, about working at TYT. Let's watch.
Mia, Emma, I want to get some of your wide thoughts on independent media. Obviously, you've spent your entire career, as far as I know, working in independent media. You got your start over at the Young Turks, unless there was somewhere that you worked before them, and now you've worked
no,
over
I mean,
at.
I did like Democratic Party internships and things like that,
Ooh,
but
fancy stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
I just wanted to kind of get your perspective at a bird's eye level. Could you talk a little bit about your entry level experiences over at the Young Turks and now
Sure.
at the Majority Report? Could you compare and contrast a little bit, and just kind of talk about what drew you to this independent business model? Obviously, you could have been gunning for a role at CNN. Obviously, you could have been after a panel job on MSNBC. You decided to go Young Turks, then Majority Report FM. Just curious about how that all went down.
Well, yeah, I, I was I my background is my parents are lawyers, right? I grew up outside of New York City in New Jersey, and I had always thought that like my future was to be a lawyer, like my parents. And I was gonna go to law school, and I had a
Womp
professor.
womp.
Yeah, didn't happen. My sister did though, so my parents did like get their dream fulfilled in that way. But um, I've always been, I don't know, like somebody that I I I I never connected to like a kind of capitalist culture or wanting to make like a ton of money. It just I perhaps it's the luxury of like having comfort or whatever, but it just there was something about that environment that was very stifling to me and not I always felt socially and sometimes physically uncomfortable in those settings. And
Same.
I had a there you
And I'm surprised she's even going fully on the record and giving, such an in-depth take. We could see on how little shame she has being willing to, give these details of her life, of her background. There's no shame in what she is saying. It's only whenever people try to hide it or act like they're someone they're not that it starts to get a little, shady. Yeah, so we could see that she right here is just very, very upstanding and being so see-through.
go. I had a professor, this woman, Professor Suhei, I'll just say her name. She ended up leaving for another university, but she kind of took a special interest in me when she was like, "You should not go to law
And where'd you
school."
go to school, Emma?
Lafayette College.
Oh, okay.
Um, and like she was like, "Your interest isn't," because I would, you should be in media. Basically, she was saying that I was a good communicator and that I was passionate about politics, and so I was a huge fan of Janks and TYTs. Like I was the head of Young Democrats in high school, and I remember playing some of his videos railing against the Republicans. And my advisor had to have a talk with me after because she was like, "That's too angry and divisive." But like I was a huge fan of, I would say, Jank in particular. I really, really looked up to him. And so on a whim, I was like, I don't know if I really want to go to law school. I'm going to take a year off after school and just like work somewhere and see if it's really what I want to do as I study for the LSAT. I got an internship with TYT, and I just basically like my friends and my mom and like my parents. My mom was supportive, and she was just like, you got to go for it, and I did, and I was able to live at home for basically a year because I was not paid well. But I was on the road for quite a while with Jordan Sheridan, and that was really incredible experience in many ways. Like there were issues there. Obviously, it came out, and that's why he was no longer not related to me, but similar. Why he was no longer with that network, um, but he still did teach me a lot, and like going to Standing Rock and doing the tour of the Rust Belt. That was part of why I thought that Hillary had a good chance to lose. And then eventually TYT did their fundraising drive for journalists in the wake of Trump's victory. So I got hired off of that. And it was really
And right here, for any new viewers, she's referring to Jordan Charlton. He had faced, I believe it was sexual allegations from the reporter Carly Hammond. Emma Vigeland, she's saying that has nothing to do with her. But just to give a little bit of background on, what she's talking about here.
like From there on out, I was a full employee of TYT. I was able to get an apartment, and I just was on the road for them a lot, going to, cover Trump rallies and going to different campaign events. And it just became clear at a certain point that like I wasn't going to get much more money there. And
Yeah,
they
what was
wanted,
your experience like as an employee? How does Jank treat his employees? Give us the tea. This is the Vanguard.
well, look, I'm a host, so I think and producers I think have probably a different experience than the uh the staff that try to unionize, right? And I know you've covered this for sure. Like, um,
Oh
the
yeah,
it,
like flies on shit.
I don't doubt it, but I was treated okay. You know, I had I had the luxury of like being able to save up and live at home, right? And that was what got me by. But it still was not a lot of pay, and a lot of, I don't know. I don't know how much you guys want to get into it or whatever, but um I
Oh,
think
we'll
that
get into it.
the hosts are treated well. I do think that like they're
So here we have a start. She's getting into the details with TYT as far as the pay. She's saying the pay is not that great, but it's not really, it's not really about pay for her. It seems like she said that she comes from a better background, a more fortunate background, and it appears that it's like, yeah, TYT may not pay that well, but it seems like it's an entry level job, and she is living, she was still able to live with her family. So it's good. This is the first part of the tell all. It starts to, get into some real spill in a little bit. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.